21 behavioral statements at MCC level across the same 6 competencies you already mapped at ACC and PCC. The statements will sound familiar. The verbs and structures echo what you know. The challenge is not memorizing new content. It is recalibrating your ear for what mastery sounds like in a real session, where the same behaviors that earned PCC at proficiency now have to land at exemplary. The slides show the literal MCC BARS wording from the ICF source. The narration unpacks what those words ask of the coach and what you are listening for as a mentor coach preparing a candidate. 3 reference points. MCC consolidates. C3, C4, and C5 keep 4 statements each. C6, C7, and C8 collapse to 3 each. The MCC Resource Guide assigns no numerical positions to the rating options. Assessors use the qualitative anchors directly. The pivotal distinction is between meets and exceeds, and that move is where artistry lives. That is the move you are training your ear to hear. Competency 3 at MCC has 4 statements, the same count as PCC, and very similar wording. M3.1 partners with the client to identify the focus of the session. M3.2 explores and clarifies several aspects of the topic. M3.3 confirms mutual understanding of the client's desired session outcome. M3.4 notices possible shifts emerging in the conversation and clarifies the desired direction with the client. What changes at MCC is what partners means. The client has full autonomy to direct, pause, or redirect, and the coach's contribution is so light, it is invisible. The phrase that distinguishes MCC from PCC at this competency is in the inconsistent column of the MSR. The coach subtly or overtly influences the client's choice of how they use their session. Even a slight lean in one direction is inconsistent at MCC. Competency 4 at MCC has 4 statements. M4.1 acknowledges the client's learning or growth at any moment in the session. M4.2 recognizes the client's emotions, strengths, or other unique characteristics. M4.3 seeks to understand the client by inviting the client to share more about themselves, their perspectives, or their identity. M4.4 demonstrates empathy for what the client has expressed. 2 patterns to listen for. First, recognition is in the moment. The coach acknowledges learning or growth at any moment in the session, not only at closing. Second, the coach customizes responses to reflect the client's specific words, concepts, and ways of expressing themselves. The MCC inconsistent list flags general responses not customized to this client as a competency level inconsistency. Competency 5 at MCC has 4 statements. M5.1 responds holistically to the client in a manner that keeps the conversation flowing. M5.2 partners with the client in ways that support the client's needs. M5.3 consistently demonstrates curiosity. M5.4 creates space for silence, pause, or reflection. Holistically is the MCC level word at C5. The coach treats the client as a whole person. Emotions, thoughts, behaviors, values, relationships, environment in a manner that keeps the conversation flowing. The 5.2 to 3.4 distinction matters here. 5.2 is ongoing partnership attuned to the client's needs throughout the session. 3.4 is noticing shifts in the desired outcome and clarifying with the client. Both require partnership. They differ in what they partner on. Competency 6 at MCC consolidates from PCC's 7 markers down to 3 statements. M6.1 recognizes the nuances of language, emotions, energy, or behaviors in relation to the client and the client's agenda. M6.2's response demonstrates understanding of the client's thinking, feeling, or insight in the moment. M6.3 explores what the client communicates in relation to multiple dimensions of the client. Notice the language, nuances, multiple dimensions, in the moment. These are MCC level words. Listening at MCC is not just hearing what the client said, it is responding to the subtle shifts in tone, emotional intensity, body language, and pauses that reveal a deeper view of the client's experience. 3 statements. 7 was scaffolding. 3 is integrated practice. Competency 7 at MCC consolidates from PCC's 8 markers down to 3 statements. M7.1 partners with the client to explore and expand the client's perspective. M7.2 shares insights, sensations, or observations that support the client in creating new or expanded awareness. M7.3 stimulates new client insights with succinct, open-ended questions, one at a time. The 7.1 to 7.2 distinction is foundational. 7.1 is partnering through questions or reflections that invite the client to expand their own viewpoint. 7.2 is sharing the coach's own observations, intuitions, or sensations without attachment and inviting the client to respond. The phrase without attachment is the MCC test for 7.2. The coach offers without needing the client to accept, agree, or act. If the offering carries any pull on the client, it is not 7.2 at the MCC level. Competency 8 at MCC consolidates from PCC's 9 markers down to 3 statements. M8.1 invites the client to reflect on what they have learned about themselves from the coaching conversation. M8.2 partners with the client to translate insights or learning into actions. M8.3 partners with the client to complete the session. Notice the wording on M8.1. What the client has learned about themselves, not what they have learned about the topic, not what they have learned about the situation. About themselves. C8 at MCC orients toward the client's relationship with themselves and their way of being in the world. 2 MCC inconsistent patterns at C8. The coach suggests or provides specific actions to the client. The coach chooses the timing or method of closing the session. At MCC, the client owns the actions in the closing. The coach may notice a moment for closure and name it. The decision belongs to the client. Statement count by competency: C3-4, C4-4, C5-4, C6-3, C7-3, C8-3. 21 statements total. The compression from PCC to MCC happens entirely in C6, C7, and C8. PCC had 7 C6 markers, 8 C7 markers, 9 C8 markers, 24 in total. MCC has 9 across those 3 competencies. The compression is not a downgrade. PCC's granularity was the scaffolding to teach the practice. MCC's consolidation is the recognition that at mastery level, the practice has integrated and the separate elements have fused. Listening at MCC is not 7 separate things. It is one integrated thing. Same for evoking awareness. Same for facilitating growth. 2 final notes on C1 and C2. C1 Ethics has no numbered rating at MCC. The MCC BARS resource guide handles C1 through behaviors consistent and behaviors inconsistent narrative lists. Behaviors consistent. Alignment with the ICF Code of Ethics, consistently in the role of coach, using key coaching skills to facilitate the client's own insights. Behaviors. Inconsistent. Clear ethics violation, primarily consulting mode, primarily therapeutic mode, primarily advice giving throughout the session. The ICF disqualifiers clause sits in the candidate guides at every credential level. identical text in the ACC, PCC, and MCC handbooks. Recordings may be disqualified if the assessor finds an ethics breach or evidence the coach more than occasionally steps out of the role of coach. The MCC Resource Guide is the level that explicitly enumerates the failure modes the assessor weighs against that clause. C2, Coaching Mindset, is evaluated only in the ICF credentialing exam. The MCC Resource Guide states this directly. There are no behavioral statements for C2 in any credentials, bars, or markers document. The next video walks the official MCC BARS Resource Guide statement by statement so you can navigate it on your own.